Hi, I'm Tom, and you are tuned in to Hit the North, a podcast where I talk to a range of special guests, sharing their thoughts and feelings about the North, defined inclusively. Cornflower, Centaurea cyanus. For Sue Bell, we gave them blue, as much as they wanted, free forever with no contracts. Then, in a wisdom we didn't understand, they tried to poison or burn us out. But going to war is not who we are. Maybe it's about starting again, another go. Would showing them a world without colour help? We could get some friends round for a fancy knees up, but with no colour and no fun. Because that's how it would be. No, for us cornflowers, war is never an option. Many of this series' guests have been versatile people. Peter Street, however, has had the most incredibly varied life. He's worked in a supermarket and a slaughterhouse. He's been a gravedigger, a war poet, an arborist, tree surgeon, BBC broadcaster, and a writer in residence at HMP Hindley Young Offenders Institution. He's had many poetry collections published, several memoirs, and written about autism and poetry for the Journal of Literary and Cultural Disability Studies. He is quite simply a human being with great perception and warmth, who has enjoyed an incredible life. So hello, Peter. Thanks for joining us today.
You're most welcome.
I must say, I've only known about your work since July this year. I think it was early July. I watched Brett Gregory's film, Autism and the Arts, Poetry with Peter Street.
Yeah.
I thought it was an excellent piece of work, and you're a fascinating character. So I wanted to speak to you and for this podcast.
Sure, excellent. Thanks ever so much for this. This is the kind of stuff I really like because I love the camera. I'm a complete tart, so yeah.
Have you lived more than 5 years of your life in the North?
Yeah, I've lived 70 years in the North. The other times we've been out and about.
And where have you lived, like specifically? Which places?
Yeah, we did 12 months up in Cumbria. I was a forester there. And then we saw a nice little job down in Kent where it was a 6-acre garden, private estate.
Yeah.
And very famous people. And we stayed there for about 4 years, I think, something like that.
Where were you in Cumbria?
Just this side of Kirby Lonsdale, between a pub called the Travellers, and yeah, that was a 13-acre estate, and so there were 3 of us. I sort of give all the info about the various trees and things like that, and so yeah, so they sort of got on with what I sort of advised. Let me explain first. I've always been interested in trees, especially when the elm disease came up with Dutch elm disease in planted tree in 73.
Yeah.
That really brought me notice to attention about the difficulties of trees. And what, in a surreal way, the elm trees, they committed suicide because of the disease going up the tree.
Yeah.
They got involved with the xylem, and so that cut the water supply off. So that's why they died. Now, when you were cutting down, they just went over, then exploded like a bomb because there was no water. So it went buff everywhere. So that got me really interested. So I put in to go to Merriswood College just outside Guildford, Walpolston. Even though the class was brilliant, wonderful teachers, lecturers, but I failed in everything to do with the classroom. And I didn't understand that you had to go home and study the books because I'd never done it before. So nobody explained that to me.
They just assumed that you would know.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah.
But the way I passed is because I was so good with the practical and knowing about trees, but not having the sort of all the sort of writing work and the theory of it. So I got my certificate, and so that's what really put me forward with anything to do with trees, and so becoming sort of quite more and more interested all the time. But then when I think I put it down in 1982, I had an accident which broke my neck. I only fell 3 feet. Anyway, so I was in the hospital for 3 months, and in that time I met an English lit teacher called Jed O'Brien. And he was surprised at the experiences, what I got. I'd not written about them, but I told him I could write in sentences. And what about poetry? I'd never really heard poetry, no, but I can't remember anything in the classroom about poetry. So I started to write for him, and he said, no rules. And so I thought, wow. So I got on with it. And the poem, what you see, the oak tree, is one of the very first to do with nature.
Yeah.
And after that, I caught the bug. So that was my starting point, really, with regards sort of nature and everything they can do. And also the problems with us as human beings. We don't give a fig about them, really. We don't give a fig about the plants, trees, anything like that. So even though people say, oh, we've got to do this, and various political parties will do this, nobody really does anything. It's all talk, you know. And so that was why I sort of wanted to give the wildflowers a voice.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because it must be really cheesed off with sort of people walking all over them and not sort of taking them on.
Well, should we go just back to where else you've lived? Because you were born born in Wigan in 1948. Am I right?
That's right, yeah.
I was actually also born in Wigan, but in 1982.
Oh wow!
But I only lived there for 2 years, and my parents moved to the northeast. In 1984, 85. But then you lived most of your life in Bolton. Am I right?
Yeah, Bolton. Yeah, brought up in Bolton, and got various jobs ranging from baker and confectioner, which didn't last long, but life really came together when I met 7 blokes and incredible men.
Yeah.
I don't want to meet any guy, can't they? But all on the periphery of society. And they was the ones who really made me born in a way. They brought me to life. I was so naive. And my God, they teased, they swore, they played pranks. But they loved me and I loved them. And they looked after me. You know, and that was, I never had that before with people.
This relates to Hidden Depths, which I've read just recently, like 3 weeks ago or so. I read it preparing for this. So your memoir, Hidden Depths, The Life and Loves of a Young Gravedigger. I would say it's fascinating and funny. Contains really clearly recalled stories from coming of age and your early working life and first love in 1960s Bolton. And there's a really rich perspective on working class northern life and a very warm yet clear-sighted view of men and women, I would say, in there. Do you have any further stories about the Irish landlady when you moved into your bed sitting room?
What we didn't know, I don't know, I think I told you that the guys knew that, well, I told them I'd run away because Sandra's parents didn't like me. And my mum and dad didn't want to go with Sandra. So I ran away and left home. And then the guys got the newspaper there and circled an address. And when I got there, it was a big busty Irish woman what opened the door. And I think she knew Railroad straight away. What we didn't know that it was a kind of part-time brothel. And most of the Irish guys who's on the gangs. But she never let me starve. There was money. We didn't understand how the gas meter was always full. That it was one of these old-fashioned gas meters that you had to put 2 shilling in to keep it going. And the room was tiny, filthy. I took the curtains down to cover myself, and there was the dust everywhere. And so I got covered up with that. And then the following day, when I went out to work, all the guys laughed and all sorts of things. But then when I got back, the room wasn't dirty. It was the gas meter was full. And so she made sure that I wouldn't go cold. And there's also one gas ring there, and that was always up so I could use straight away. So it was her way of sort of, looking after me. I've been looked after by all these people.
Yeah.
Who most people won't give them 2 looks, so... but she was nice, wonderful lady. But she said that I could smell the sweet perfume. And she kept saying, "You've not to go down that corridor. It's not for the likes of you." So...
Yeah. I think it comes across that you were, with the gravediggers, you were doing like really socially useful work, but you were sort of seen as pariahs by a certain section of the local population. Like, what do you feel about that?
Wonderful. Yeah, we sort of, the gravediggers were all guys, various guys, ranging from about to one of the most horrendous nightclubs. There was an ex-Marine, there was an Al Jolson singer, all sorts of people, you wouldn't associate with. But they, like I said earlier on, they were wonderful. And so, yeah, they took me through society and what society can offer us, which they tried to give their sort of take on it, but more helping me rather than saying, "You can't do that because it's frightening, they won't like you." Anything. So they told me to get on with it. And if anybody asks you to do brain surgery, you say, "Yeah, I can do it." And that was what people looked at us, really, when we're all walking together, because I've always thought nobody knows what a gravedigger looks like until they're actually burying somebody, and then you don't take any notice. So 7 of us, walking together, almost like the Magnificent Seven. I was Steve McQueen.
Do you feel like they were as important in shaping you and how you turned out as your mum was, or your stepdad, for example?
They were more influenced than my parents. They were incredible. My dad, he was a lovely, lovely man, but he didn't like the Irish, probably comes in the book. And Mum just let me get on with it, what I were doing. So there was no sort of really get to bed, not to this, not to that. Nobody seemed to bother, so I just got on with life until I met the gravediggers.
I think, like the camaraderie comes across really strongly.
Oh.
Yes. Coping with adversity, really, particularly the Welsh Tabernacle exhumation chapter, which is gruesome, horrible stuff, really, sickening. But yeah, how you dealt with it through humour, singing the scaffold song. Lily
yeah. I don't know when I've told you the story, but the little woman in the lead-lined coffin, which one guy lifted her out, and I was following behind, and her arm fell off, and I picked that up, and then her leg fell off.
Yeah.
And then, there's all this really sort of strange humour that's really more such stronger than Gallows humour, I thought.
Even stronger, yeah.
But also taking, they saved my life a few times. They got me drunk with all the bones. They put me on top of all the bones and the skeletons and things like that. After they got me so drunk I couldn't stand. But that was to save me from falling into the trenches.
Yeah.
What else would you do on an exhumation site?
Yeah. Just out of interest, was there ever any strike action during your time as a gravedigger, or were industrial relations harmonious?
Oh yeah, it was all fine. We all stuck together, either the bosses, and we all stuck together really. We was in a sort of little old country that was sort of moved around from cemetery to cemetery, and then I went as a freelance gravedigger in between. But so all of us, we were sort of all more or less glued together.
Yeah. It sounded in the book like it was reasonable pay, really, for the time and everything, compared with some of your other jobs. Was better paid, or?
Yeah, the other job when I was doing at the time, I was looking for the co-op. You know how they pat all the butter, like I used to see years ago?
Right.
I was doing all that sort of stuff. I mean, the wage was on it, I think, £7 a week. Me and Sandra was thinking of a mortgage, so we wanted it, So that went up to £14, 10 shillings, which was double. Plus, we was getting, I think it was a day and a half or 2 days pay for 1 day exhuming. So that really had to get the mortgage.
Yeah. Was it working that Saturday? Was that the exhumation again? I'm trying to remember, because that was like extra money as well, wasn't it, on the Saturday?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right, yeah. And walking to the sort of in the market hall, with our fingers smelling of dead bodies and asking for bacon sandwiches and then licking our fingers with all the butter dripping down. So I never thought it was anything wrong with it. That was because we was all doing it. I never thought anything wrong with it.
He would never eat his meal, and so they gave him medicinal compound. Now they move him round on wheels. We'll drink a drink to Lily the Pink, the saviour of the human race. For she invented medicinal compound, was efficacious in every case.
I was also really interested by your account of the fire at the top story club in Bolton, when 19 people died. You talk about that in chapter 9. It's very haunting, that. And in a way, it follows on from the tabernacle exhumation chapter. And you have a note at the end of the memoir mentioning that when you worked at the BBC, you were able to deeply research this tragic event. Have you made any progress since in drafting this?
Let's start from the beginning with that. We knew there was a guy coming in called Pedro Gonzalez. That's not his proper name, so I think we can use it. We was warned that somebody was coming in who'd been involved in a fire. That's all we knew. What was interesting, there was all police around the cemetery, and it was being brought along. And so I wondered what it was all about. And so the other guys who were a lot older than me, they told me he was the main suspect in this fire. And so that really created interest in me, especially when I got into the BBC, because I remembered it all from seeing it when I was at school, going on school buses. We used to see all the sort of smoke and everything like that. So when I was at the BBC, I thought I'd look into it. So I managed to get in touch with the local police station, and I got the actual transcript in it all, and the interviews and how it was started and all the rest of it. And so I was warned by some other journalists not to take it on, because some people, I don't think I can say the name, may have been involved with this in sort of persuading, shall we say, the boss to give it up. And so in order to take his own back, and this is only, how can I say, this is a fictional piece of what I think, that he'd been practicing how to start a fire with matches and a fuse. And so that's how it started. And the coroner said he didn't think it was accidental. And so that was really what again, which really sort of tempted me to look into it. And then it came about there was no verdict, that everybody sort of knew, but everybody kept quiet because there were lots of people involved, some naughty people involved as well. So that's what took my mind really about it, because I'm one of them type of people who says you not to do this. So when they said that, it sort of encouraged me to do it.
Was that 1961 that the events?
Yeah,
I think
it was 1st of April or 2nd of April, something like that. And in a strange way, it's been great for us because that set the rules about nightclubs and fires and about emergency exits and all that sort of thing. So yeah, you can say them 19 people sacrificed themselves in a way for us, so it could feel safe in these dance halls and big places, supermarkets, whatever. So yeah, so there was all heroes in my mind.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was what I got of it the other day. 19 heroes. I'm just glad I didn't have to see it.
Yeah, absolutely.
They put the morgue was full up, so they put some bodies in a cleaner's room and stacking them up, all in a dreadful condition. And nobody told her. So when she opened the door, obviously she was so traumatized that she never went back to work. So again, it was another way, really, that you don't take bodies outside of the morgue, stay somewhere where the public can't get at them. So all that was sort of, again, for us really, in a strange way, it's been sort of a massive help and probably saved lots and lots of lives, hundreds probably.
Yeah, society sort of learning more about that. I remember at school learning about the Victoria Hall disaster in Sunderland, where about 100 kids died because of an exit again, like not proper exit, like a stampede, like they were wanting the presents. It was horrible. Near what is now Mowbray Park in Sunderland, near where I grew up. That was 1883 that happened. I suppose you got things like Hillsborough, 1989 as well. So there's a big history of it. Some people didn't learn the lessons even after 1960s, but hopefully gradually we're improving on this.
I remember, I think it was 1936, 1946. There was a massive tragedy at Bolton Wanderers match. Lots of people were killed there when the barriers behind the nets just collapsed. And so there was no sort of people say, go this way or go that way. Everybody just, and so many people were killed. I can't remember how many, but it's quite a lot.
Yeah. So next one, hopefully a bit more upbeat question. So if it's not too personal, could you say a bit more about how you first met Sandra and what was your first impression of her?
Well, Sandra didn't want me to talk anything about it, but how can I say this? She absolutely took my breath away. And we'd only known each other within for about 10 minutes, if that. And sort of she felt the same, and I felt the same, and that was it. 58 years later, we're still here.
Yeah. That was in Bolton where you met her.
Yeah, the local pally. Yeah. I think it was 22nd of March, 1967, around about 9:50. And the Beach Boys were playing. I can't remember the song, but anyway, that's...
Yeah, great. You were officially diagnosed as autistic at the age of 64. And interestingly enough, I was myself at 42 earlier this year. Why do you think autistic people can be especially good writers and poets?
I think a lot of the time we don't really bother about the rules and regulations. I think we are our own people. And so, again, there's some guys and girls who were sort of very, very pedantic about full stops and all the rest of it. But a lot of people on the spectrum, they don't give two hoots really about it because they don't know, same as I don't know, or didn't know and still don't know. And so I think that's one of the reasons why we're not afraid. We're quite special because we were all born outside the box. And I think people forget that the human body is made up of 80% water and 20% poetry. And so that's, so when you come to think about that, we've all got these poems in our heads, and everybody has a poem in their head. And so a lot of people are too frightened to sort of put it on paper. And so a lot of people on the spectrum, a lot wouldn't even go near a poem, but others will sort of, we've got all this things to write about. We just need someone who'll sort of open the door for us. And then it all flows out, how we've been treated, our experiences, good or bad. Everything can come out. Maybe not in the way that most people want to read it. It may come out as a gobbledygook, but it's still coming out. And somebody else can sort that out if they can. So that's an important thing, I think.
Absolutely. So I mean, I've read Earth Talk, which we can talk about now. Yeah, there isn't any sort of messing around in your style. It's really direct in stating what is happening and broadly what is needed as well, really. And whereas other people can overcomplicate it sometimes or simplify it too much. I think you get it just right. You get it bang on with depicting what's happening to the environment really today.
Yeah.
And I also admire how there's a very everyday speech, like northern vocabulary and syntax in your poetry, while you are eloquently illuminating some of these really big issues like life and death and our relationship with the planet. So can you explain how you interwove like the local and the global within your collection of poems, Earth Talk, which was published in 2020 by Comparison?
Yeah. I didn't really know where anybody would take this on because, first of all, again, as I explained earlier on, I'm very interested in trees and also the plants that go along with it, And so it was just sort of came to me that we all have these ideas about trying to keep the planet safe, but at the same time, we're all destroying it. And it's like, I think I've got the word right. I feel like it's one big massive paradox that we walk over these flowers and more flowers and not realising that they're there for us and they're there to teach us and show us things, i.e. the nettles. We can make soup with them, they can make clothes with them, but more importantly, they grow in nitrogen. And so they tell you where you can plant your cabbages and things like that. And all them plants, what I wrote about, they all give us advice. And all we need to know is about those plants. So in lots of cases, you don't need to put fertilizers on. You just need to look at the plants and they'll tell you how they want the soil to be. So we ignored all that. So I wanted to sort of give them a voice and talk about a war and having about a parliament of wildflowers and who sort of can get themselves going, and stand there and sort of sprout about and about these things about going to war. Yes, we are going to war. The buttercups, don't believe anything about what the buttercups tell you, that they're evil. Everybody thinks that you can get this little yellow flower and forget all that. They are evil. Because what they've got more what we call rhizomoths under the soil. So they creep under the soil. And if people don't pull them up, they'll take over the soil and nothing else will grow. Right. So they're really the naughty boys. And yet it's almost a kind of covert operation with the buttercups. So I wanted to give them all voices in the way I recognise them. And so am I explaining everything right, okay?
Yeah, really well, yeah. I mean, it comes across as a great gallery of different voices, that collection, where they have some of them sort of talking very moderate, some of them more militant.
Oh yeah,
in their attitudes. Yeah. It's a great way of doing it, I think, and doing it in very interesting human northern sort of register.
Yeah, we've got all sorts in it. We've got assassins, with the Virginia creepers or poisons, whatever. We've got all sorts, So it's a massive thing to have all these plants who are sort of on the march down this lane no other human being is there. And they're all sort of all going to war, and some are saying, no, let's not do this. Yeah, let's do this. Let's be rebels and create hell for the humans. And other people, other planets say, no, we don't want to do that. No.
Are you able to read a couple of the poems for us now, if you have the book to hand?
Yeah.
Peter. If you could please read Common Bent Grass and Hoverflies, that would be wonderful to include.
Yeah, I think, just let me tell you, but a lot of people don't want common bent grass in the lawns because they think they're the evil. But yet, the sport fields, the golf courses, football fields, they're ideal for it. I mind calling common. I'd like you to know we've addressed some of the best golf courses in the world, mind you. I suppose when it comes down to it, we've all got a bit of common in us, even the presidents, kings and queens who's trod over me. Okay? Their fancy pants can't stop flooding, famine and pestilence. Not only, but we'll all look the same when those waters come and flood us away. Time and tide, kid. Time and tide.
Thank you. That's great. And Hoverflies is the other, please.
Yeah, the other flies are quite a unique sort of the trampoline from flower to flower. And they're only tiny. And they are doing this massive job. Yeah, so other flies. Just them not being there. Yeah, other flies are really important because although tiny they are, they're sort of, like I said, trampoline from one flower to another flower. And propagated. So yeah, be quite special. Let's not get carried away. This is getting too personal, too angry. Listen, we wouldn't be here for our specific job. You're all trying to think like them. Don't. Symbiosis is the secret. Hagar, brought in chamomile, parsley, buckwheat and yarrow. Keep us busy, happy, plant to plant, pollinating. It's what we do. You all have to start thinking like a field. This is the way forward. Back to getting the balance right. That's it, really.
Thank you, Peter. That's beautiful. Why do you think humans are collectively ignorant or in denial about current and future climate crisis?
I think they're all thinking somebody else will do it all. Somebody else will leave it. Even the political parties, they don't really get down to the business of saying, this is what we're going to do. And we're going to start tomorrow. Not in 2 years' time when they've passed some sort of law. But right now, but if one says it, all the other says it as well. So they're all peeing in the same pot as far as I'm concerned with regard to it. But the only thing what's going to get them really is they're almost like trying to impress each other and trying to get by and become heroes. And even though they're trying to become heroes, they're not making it. And the environment and us are going to suffer. And it's because it's in the long term, nobody bothers. It's what does it matter if it's in 50 years' time? We're going to be dead and buried. So it won't matter to us. And why make laws for now when there's all that coming? So who cares?
Right, part of it is that sometimes there's too much emphasis just on carbon emissions, which are important, but also you need to look at water and soil, lots of the other interconnected parts of the ecosystem, rather than just the man-made pollution through carbon emissions like flying and stuff. I think there's so many aspects to it, it can be daunting to people and overwhelming to consider how massive an issue it is and how many different things are involved.
Yeah, I think there's sort of, again, this, I'm not sure whether this is a paradox or not, that years ago when the pits were going, women would put the washing on the lines on a Monday the reason for that is that the pits and the coals and the other what spew out dirt sort of stand still. So the Monday morning, when there's nothing about, and before the mines and the coal mills and the cotton mills strike up, their clothes will be dry. So there's all this thing about, oh, we've got to get rid of the pits and cotton mills and the rest of it. Yeah, we did. But now they've got more trouble. We've got more trouble. We've got plastics. We've got computers.
Yeah.
This is almost like sort of like, what's it called? I forgot what it says about the cotton mills. Dark satanic mills.
Dark satanic mills, yeah.
So we've got other dark satanic mills, but in the shape of computers and in rooms where sort of we're spreading diseases across ourselves. Again, nobody's being bothered about it, and they're encouraging that. So we're going to be another sort of environmental crisis, I think, worse than anything that the pits and the cotton mills produced. So there's going to be massive problems in the future, but hey-ho, nobody's taking care of it. Nobody bothers about that, so it's about making money.
What can we do to persuade each other across the world to reverse our destruction and despoiling of our environment?
I think, first of all, it's sort of try and kick away the computers as much as possible. And I know that's hard to say because everybody's on iPhones and things like that. But we've got to start talking to each other. We've got to start trusting each other and sort of helping each other to do certain things. Now, years ago, there used to be, before everybody said we've got to get rid of the mines and cotton mills, there used to be fruit and veg competitions. There used to be allotments what people could go to. Or everything was directed towards healthy living in a way. But obviously there was damage to the lungs and everything like that. But there's going to be damage to other people because nowadays, because a lot of people and the computers, they sit at the side of the computer drinking sweet drinks, these cokes and whatever, and not moving away from the computer. And so massive problems, health problems, is going to affect everybody. And I'm one as well, because I'm at my computer all day, So we're all guilty of it.
Yeah, I mean, for AI, for example, expends a colossal amount of water to cool down the servers, apparently, in these massive data centers. And this is instead of energy for people's homes, potentially, as well. It's an absurd waste, I would say. AI, on the whole, I have a few minor things that are good about it, but I don't think it's a good future to go towards.
It's going to be disastrous. Absolutely disastrous. Even going on like the golf courses and things, places like that, they're putting so much nitrogen and altering the water tables. So there's going to be massive problems, but thinking, oh yeah, we can play golf, foot sport, whatever. Not thinking about the future and what's going to happen there. So I think what we've got to do is really get our heads together, and right, let's do this, all of us, not just a few hundred people, a few thousand people, but billions have got to get together to help the planet get back to what it was. Because I still believe we've got, 7.5 billion. I still believe there's going to be a massive crisis, that will kill 1 billion or so people, whatever causes it, whether it's war, pestilence, whatever, because the planet can't stand it. So the 7 horses are coming, and they are going to cause problems.
Is there a failure, do you think, in the way that the mainstream media communicates what's going on with the climate?
I think they're fighting with each other. They're trying to all fight to sort of we'll give them all this sort of information. But how much are they holding back? And how much are they saying, we'll do this? But it's fine doing that. But again, who listens to them? It's fish and chip paper the following day. And so nothing's done really, even though it may be some young journalists or even older journalists which write these articles about what we can do and this is going to happen, that's that. It won't, nothing will happen, nothing will change unless we all get together, as come as one. But that won't happen.
So I think, if I was, say, in charge of the BBC, I'd definitely put your voice on the telly, reading out Earth Talk, and then people may listen to that and start talking to each other and organise.
Yeah, I think it's so easy to do. It's so easy for people to do these things. I want to put forward to a political party that what they can do, each house could grow something for in the street. So one house could grow pasta, say, the next house could grow carrots, and so forth, and then swap it around. But nobody wants to know that, And so it's too much getting together, too much sort of find out about your neighbour and, the people across the street, and, people don't talk about these things.
People find it easier in the culture that we've got to go to a supermarket, say, don't they, really, I think, to get all the food these days.
And I think, and one of the problems is when we're talking about the environment, we're not just talking about us and the plants. We're also talking about chairs and tables and spoons and forks, because they're all here to help us, especially the chairs and the tables. They might be made out of wood or whatever, and then we burn them after a number of years instead of having them repaired, whatever. So we're almost enemies. We make up and mend rather than just getting rid of something if it sort of breaks down or cracks or whatever.
Yeah, there's a sort of built-in obsolescence. It's a very capitalist thing, isn't it?
That's right.
Get people discarding and buying anew.
Yeah.
Very quickly, just concerning.
Can I just say that, like my mum used to knit me balaclava. It was awful. Same with swimming trunks. With the swimming trunks, I got into Blackpool, 7-year-old, and all the water, my trunks come down anyway. That's another story. But with the balaclavas, once that were done and didn't want them anymore, she used to unpick all the wool and then make some socks with it or some gloves or whatever. But people can't do that these days because the wool, it's cutting machine, so there's only short lengths, where there used to be long lengths of where you had to get somebody to wrap it round like that, and then you could make something with it. But that's all gone.
Do you think socialist humanism and steady state, deep green environmentalism are in fundamental conflict with each other, or can they be reconciled? Very political.
They all want to become a hero, so they're fighting to be top notch. They'll never make it. They're very nice people. And I've been involved with the Green Party, I've been involved with the humanism, and they're wonderful, wonderful people. But at the end of the day, they've got to come together and put everything aside and say, no, this is the job we've got to get on with. Let's get on with it, boys and girls.
Compromise with each other as well. Yeah. How do you reflect on the state of the natural environment in the north of England today and people's impacts on it that you can observe around you, like more locally?
I think it's worse now than what it was when the mines and the mills were going. Because they're not really going out as such, unless they're being told to go to the gym and get fit. And most people do it in their house or a walk or whatever. But then, years ago, they did it to get walking to the countryside to get the lungs going and things like that. But nowadays, I don't think anybody's bothered about it, really. We all like our cars. We all like going to Blackpool or whatever. Again, there's no real sort of leaders who can say, right, this is what we're doing today. And we do it today, like I said earlier on in this programme. We've got to all get together now. And north of England, I think it's it used to be so different from the south because there weren't that many mills and cotton mills down the south. But we're getting more and more like the south because all them industries, they're gone. So, there's plants coming up what never did in the 40s and 50s and before, because the weather's warm up here, slightly warmer than what it used to be.
Do you think people appreciate the moorland I know that's around where you are, there's lots of moors, aren't there? Do you think they use it and appreciate it?
They used to do, there's not many people, I don't think, but I've not been going on to the malls lately like I used to do. But they don't seem to be the same. The Chinese gardens are them where we live, near Rivington. People say, we're going for a day out at the Chinese gardens, and that's it, it's a day out. They don't think about these places on a day-to-day basis, and we can sort of get other friends and pass the information on, or we can all go along, and they've all got cars to go there. Am I being too cynical?
That's fine.
I am. I'm going to be in trouble for this. And you know I am too.
So now we'll move on to my set questions about the North. So what does being Northern mean to you?
Oh, gosh.
Does it mean anything?
Yeah, it means quite a lot. I was born in the North, and I've grown up in the North. I've grown up with various histories. I'm a living museum. I've grown up with Asians coming in, in 1960s, late 50s, whatever. Yeah. And that bloody ball of that Curtis Ambrose. Oh, yeah. He used to demolish England. Anyway, that's a different side to it altogether. But the Windrush people, I remember I saw the Windrush people coming around Bolton because of the cotton mills, same with the Asians. And I used to play cricket with them, play football. And to me, that was what North is mean. It's all these people who's come up from wherever country, black, brown, yellow, every colour in between. They came to the north of England, and so really the North is me.
And lots of Irish migration in Liverpool, Newcastle, and your family.
And they're sort of desperate to come over here, and the penny lines were going in. Do you know the penny lines?
No.
The penny lines were mostly to do with Irish, where they used to have a long line, like a washing line, and the guys who usually used to pay the penny, and they used to sit on a chair and go to sleep like that on End Street, fall asleep on a washing line. So that was where it came from. And so they moved on from there. They wanted to get into England. And the work was there for everybody, especially the Irish, because they built this country in many ways.
Yeah, but the Irish navvies built the Brittlehead Viaduct, didn't they? Which is like a wonderful structure.
That's right.
In the north of England.
They built the
railways.
Canals.
Yeah,
and the canals, and they used to use something called puddle to make the canals themselves. I don't know if they've heard of puddle or not. It's a mixture of sand, loam, and water. And then they made it so they sort of plastered on the side of the canals. And so it becomes waterproof. I think the Romans first started this off. And so the Irish took it on and built these canals. And so they couldn't build it with brick because the bottom of the boats, the barge, would scrape and maybe damage it. So the actual bottoms, they used to slide through it so they won't get damaged. So that was another point to sort of the Irish and getting all this done. And other workers what came along, there were a lot of blacks came over, from Africa or whatever, and they used to get involved with, my God, they could work, really strong people, getting involved. It seemed sort of ironic that the Irish and the black got in together, and yet a lot of the white, they won't take us on, So that's another story.
What do you see as the main attributes of Northern people and places?
I think bluntness carries us through, and also the accent I think is very strong, and people try to be take it on board and mimic in television and films. But there's been actresses and actors. One actress I know, a very famous actor, and she was asked to sort of get rid of her northern voice. And I'm not talking about somebody in Coronation Street, somebody who's done films and things like that. And she was told to get rid of her accent, but she said no. So again, this strength of what it's like to be northern, you know, and a sort of real sort of guts sort of people. Can't think of the word, but stoic, is that the right word? That's they're very strong and sort of don't like to be sort of pissed away and that sort of thing.
And what's the number one myth about the North or Northern people that you think needs consigning to history?
That we're all sort of strong in arm and thick in head. I think that's what comes across, you know, that because again, a lot of the places, even in the south, they were built by Northerners, by Irish, you know, by the blacks and, you know, the Asians, from the Scots. Don't forget Scots and the Welsh. Mustn't forget them.
Of course.
And so, yeah, they all came together to sort of build. And so I think the North is sort of really a gradely place, as the people say. You know, even Orwell wants to get involved with the North, sort of going into the tripe shop to be led like a native, really.
Yeah, the roots we can pee it. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and he stole that name. Anyway, that's another story. But yeah, I'll tell you about that sometime.
This is the most political question, really. Does the North-South divide in Britain exist?
It's, oh God, why have you asked me that question? I still think there's a massive barrier there. You know, people don't want to get to know each other. There seems to be this historical thing that Northern people sort of stand at the side of the garden wall and sort of talking to each other. You know, I think there's that friendly banter. It's still there, but not as much as it used to be. But we never hear about it really in the South. You know, sort of that coming together of different sort of communities. And I think that's all to do with how hard the North people are and how they rely on each other to get through. You know, whether they've got money or not, there's still people who get money that come from working class. There's still out people who's in the North, who's in the particular class, even though it's new money, as they call it.
What's your personal favourite place in the North and why?
Oh, God. Barry Bridge. Barry Bridge is where we first bought our first house. It's on the edge of the moor, Bolton Moors, near Belmont. But it's where I used to go and play as a kid. There used to be a boating lake there, and so we all used to go and play on the boating lake. I never forgot them years, really. So when I met Sandra, and we talked about getting a mortgage, the first thing that came up into mind is there any houses going in Barry Bridge? And there was one going, number 9, 2nd Street, Barry Bridge. And so we took that on. And we were there for 12 years. We had certain adventures and wonderful things, you know, happening to us. But yeah, even Sam, a northern program called Sam, which was in the early 70s.
I've heard of that. Yeah.
That was made in our house, you know.
Oh, right. Yeah.
I think in the 3rd, 4th series, it was made in our house. And the stars used to come in and we'd make them a cup of tea. And in winter, they'd stand in front of our coal fires and, you know, get warm. And then they'd get onto the scene. So, yeah, it was, again, that was very northern.
So it felt very rooted in that history because that's set in the 30s, isn't it, Sal? I think.
Yeah, that's right. Mm-hmm. And so, there was really tough and hard people who you heard about and what they had to go through, you know, and before the war and leading up to the war. It was terrible. I wouldn't like to have lived then. But things have changed. But that programme really got a lot up into people's minds and sort of in the cinema and rest of it. There was really something quite posh and quite forward. Even though it say posh, but posh not in the way that you watched it, but posh in the way that it sort of happened. I think I've said the right words. I'm not sure.
What's your least favourite place in the North and why?
That's naughty. That really is naughty. There's one place in Bolton whereby it's a place called Vine Street in Bolton. And it's where the place where I went trying to get a job. And it was a boning yard. the next stage on from the slaughterhouse.
Yeah.
And so every time I go past there, I have nightmares because it's where they used to lock me into the freezers and lights off and knock all the ice onto it from the ceiling. And I'll be staying there absolutely frozen for maybe half an hour. And
Yeah.
until one day, one of the bullets, I hit him so hard, it broke his jaw. And so I ran away and never went back. Yeah, it was an important place to me about thinking about how I survived. It was traumatic. For a 16-year-old, that was traumatic, and all the things they used to say to me, all sorts of weird things about sexuality, all sorts. So yeah, it was a real sort of downer.
Yeah, you mentioned it in the film with Brett Gregory, and it seems like it was the absolute opposite of the gravediggers job, that one.
Oh,
Sounds horrible.
Yeah, the gravediggers were wonderful, hard men, really. Like I said earlier on, nobody knows what a gravediggers looks like. They don't know them, sort of. They're in a sort of almost invisible place. My God, they're tough, they're hard, and yet they're wonderful people. But these guys, in these boiling yards, they were awful. Absolutely awful. There's no need for it. They thought that was a bad job, boiling, nothing compared to exhuming.
No, absolutely. What is your favourite northern institution or organisation or public space? So this could be a football club, music venue, school, hospital.
Let's not go any further than that. This is Burnden Park. We are talking Bolton Wanderers. This is the place. This is the place in 1957 where I was taken to watch Bolton Wanderers and Wolves in a cup, I think semi-final. And Dad, he said, make sure you keep your hands in your pockets because the crowds are so packed in. The guys behind me urinate in your pockets. Anyway, that's another story, but that's... But you can, if you go on Pathé News, you can see that one of the things what I never forgot, that they lifted me up because the crowds were so packed. They lifted me up and passed me over the reds, down into behind the nets where Eddie Hopkinson was. So what a place, Burnden Park, Bolton Wanderers, yeah.
What's your favourite northern book, graphic novel, photograph or artwork? You don't have to pick one of each, just one of any of those four.
I forgot what I wrote down. I was going to say Woodin Pier, but no.
And what's your favourite film or TV programme of any kind that's set or shot in Northern England, and why?
I think we've mentioned some.
So your favourite book, I think, Spring and Port Wine.
Oh, yeah.
He's put down, yeah.
Yeah.
Bill Norton is the writer of it.
Bill Norton. Spring and Port Wine, really, it shows the hardness of the North, but also all the gentleness and thoughtfulness. He's in many ways, he's a terrible person, the character James Mason takes on. But we see some kind of love right at the very end about him without curving it. And so, and again, that sort of, almost paradoxically, it's got that nastiness, and yet there's a loving piece there. And so that was the family way. The family way is whereby, I think that's still known as well, I think.
Yeah, I think it is.
Was two young people who, very immature, none of the families wanted them to be together. But they did, and sort of, they wanted to have sex, but they're frightened to do because they didn't know how to do it, and lots of things behind that, yeah. So then
didn't Paul McCartney do the music for that one?
That's right, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, yeah. Well done.
I haven't actually seen it, but you saw it, didn't you? And you mentioned it in the memoir, Go to See Sandra.
Yeah, that's right. We went together to watch that, and it was a really eye-opener, really, to show how naive they were in those times, those years, in the 60s and 70s. Young couples, not seeing things on the television like you see now, or, or the computers or whatever. But yeah, very innocent in many ways.
So the favourite film or TV programme, you did put Sam for that one. Granada TV, yeah.
Yeah,
I think it was a writer called John Finch who did lots of these epics about
No.
life. Family A Family at War was one that was in Liverpool. That was also on ITV.
Oh, yeah, that was...
It's a big hit series, that was.
That's right, but it showed you all what was great about that is that it didn't hold anything back regarding sort of food, clothes, the fashions, how they were so poor, but again, they made do and sort of helped each other out. And yeah, it was family at war and, talking about rations. And I remember rations, I remember that Mum bought me a banana, and I didn't know what it was, and she had to peel it for me, but that's, again, no stories. But yeah, so that family was great.
Yeah, they're ones I have to properly watch. I've seen clips, but I haven't seen any full episodes of either of those, so I must do that. And my penultimate question was, could you please nominate one unfairly overlooked Northern person to be on this podcast, or Northerner roster?
Matt Simpson. Matt Simpson was the guy who took me on, and he was a mentor with me poetry. He was the first person, really, who never gave up on me. And he used to tell me to phone him twice a week to show him what poems and they were. And I'd go down to his house at least once a month, down in about 30-mile drive. And so he would take me all through it. He even took me through the books of James Joyce's and all sorts of other people, but he was the one who sort of never gave up. But also, the reason all that came about is because he had quite a biggish garden, and he had no idea really. So I used to do all his garden for him, and he used to show me how to do poetry, but on the condition that I didn't want to do it as a qualification. We just did it as a friendship. And plus, his wife was German, so I used to cook German food for her. So yeah, so that's how it all started. That wonderful man, wonderful. Miss him dearly. I was with him just a few hours before he died.
And could you please tell me your selections of 3 songs or pieces of music which deeply express the North to you?
Oh, what did I say?
I can check again.
The Alio. Yeah. That was from childhood.
So, the good ship sails on the Alio.
That's right, yeah. We used to sing that in school. And so it's never left us. And I did a workshop in Liverpool with it, with some adults. And we used that as a starting point to talk about ships and the waterways.
So is that like a hymn, or is that a folk song?
It's more of a folk song. But, yeah, just singing it. And loved it, at parties and little children, sort of 7, 8 years old, trying to sing it.
The good ship sails away. Oh, the big ship sails on the alley-alley-o, the alley-alley-o, the alley-alley-o. Oh, the big ship sails on the alley-alley-o, on the last day of September. The big ship sails on the alley-alley-o.
Yeah, it is a bit familiar to me. Yeah, the melody comes into my mind when I hear the title.
Yeah. On the last day of September, it's about. I think it's shit what's soaked down in. I think down Liverpool way, or Manchester way. Somebody will write in and tell us.
You had Jerry and the Pacemakers.
Ferry across the Mersey. We used to get the ferry across the Mersey to New Brighton, and where I sort of went and sort of proposed marriage to Sandra on the beaches of New Brighton. So that was a major film for both of us.
Life goes on day after day. Hearts torn in every way. So ferry cross the Mersey, 'cause this land's the place I love, and here I'll stay.
I think there was another version of that after the Hillsborough disaster, I think, wasn't there? That Paul McCartney was involved with it. It was a very sort of angry version of it in the late 80s, I remember, yeah. And other one was Matchstalk Men and Matchstalk Cats and Dogs.
Yeah, the reason why I picked that is that when you look at some of these streets, they're just like the streets I used to play down when I was a kid. And we used to pass the ball. And we'd play cricket in them streets, we'd play football in those streets. And so, yes, I didn't know anything about the actual figures, but it was the streets, how it painted them. They just reminded me of the streets where I used to spend so many hours. That was wonderful. Yeah, got massive amount of memories back.
He painted Salford smoky tops on cardboard boxes from the shops and parts of Ancoats where I used to play.
Yeah, was that Brian and Charles? I think. Yeah, it was a big hit single in 1978, I think that.
Yeah.
Based on the Lowry drawings, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, Lowry has lots of northeast links as well. Painted Sunderland a lot, like Roker Beach.
Yeah.
And Berwick as well. Yeah. Thanks very much, Peter. That's the end. I've asked all my questions. You've been a really lovely guest. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much indeed. Bye.
Thanks. Bye. Rose Bay willow herb, pioneer species. Epilobium angustifolium. Carry on, kid. About time we had some young blood at these things. Bells don't bother us. In fact, naught at all bothers us, willow herb. Bar snotty noses down in that Hague Hall meadow, wanting war. We've seen it, done it, survived it. We're not called fireweed for naught, you know. War's got us nowhere. What's lacking here is some common sense. Down there for dancing, up here for thinking. War, indeed. They want their arses kicking. We're off wham. Is anyone coming? That's it for this week on Hit the North. Conversations, editing, idents by Tom May, Stings John E. Robinson. Thanks to my guest, Peter Streets, for talking on the 17th of September 2025. Music came from The Scaffold, The Corona Kids, Jerry and the Pacemakers, and Brian and Michael. Hang on. Want to be on the podcast or suggest a guest? Email hitthenorth.ne41@proton.me. Send us your favourite northern songs, places or stories there, or in the Hit the North Facebook group, and you'll get a shout out. If you've enjoyed this, spread the word on social media or in person, and follow at Hit the North UK at bsky.social. Don't miss the Hit the North playlist on Spotify. Hit the North, manners.